the grades that weren't doing the Common Core rollout, that people started picking up on this, so prove it. They also worked to ensure students knew what they were learning and why, so that they have some buy-in, some understanding. They aren't just sitting there going, okay, I am an empty vessel, fill me. And in the words of one kindergartner, who I thought kind of pretty well got it, that prove it means telling or showing someone that I know how to do something. So that seems like a pretty good place to start. So some of the results in kindergarten writing in 2011 under the previous, old model, this was, for mid-year, this was a high model, student ready, going to be ready for first grade, maybe already ready for first grade. They can write a sentence, spell their sight words correctly, maybe even put a period at the end, use some phonetic spelling on it. This is what, and I'm sorry, these are a little bit hard to read, in January of 2013, so even last January, mid-year kindergartner, they're writing a paragraph, in essence. They're writing multiple sentences on the same topic, getting sequencing, using those sequencing words, first, next, last, spelling most words correctly, common words correctly, using phonetic spelling where they don't know them, putting a period at the end of the sentence, putting a capital at the beginning. I was really amazed to see this. This is a kindergartner in January after half a year of school. This is a huge increase in expectation, but they're succeeding in making it work. So, clearly this can be done. And I have all the stuff they gave me on how they got there too, but I didn't figure I'd try to spread all that here. They had a similar set of stuff with math. They had us all, gave us all math problems, had us modeling this. Everybody figure it out, draw your pictures, share how did you get to the answer. I got onto one of those. I got completely hung up on the question of whether sum meant that, a minimum of 1 or was, at least 3. I never actually got the problem solved, but but I figured that's educational for both me and the teacher. It's like, if it's not said clearly. But it was also, this was an illustration that, their test, they were modeling the test, wasn't multiple choice. It didn't have, you could have the same question as on the old STAR test, but instead of saying, is the answer 3, 5, 7, or 9, this is the question, show how you got to an answer and give us the answer. It's asking for more than just being able to make an educated guess. And the things that they reported back that they've learned from, 2.5 years of working on the Common Core standards, that the Common Core model that they're using still works for that concept, basic skill development. This isn't giving up on learning to add, subtract, multiply, and divide. This isn't giving up on learning to spell. Actually, it looked to me like it was very successful in learning to spell even better. That as you do a multi-grade implementation, so as they're moving up through the grades, it's like, well, now they can support across the grades. Help teachers talking about where they are, what the kids need to know, what do they need to know better as they move into the other grades. Moving out to sharing throughout the district, I believe they started with one school, so the more they move out to share, the more they've been able to refine and develop. And then that their conclusion among the teachers who've been working with it is that the Common Core standards, as amazing as they sometimes look, do seem to be developmentally appropriate. So even though I'm going, gee, how do you get a kindergartner to writing, paragraphs by January? It's not just throwing it out there and saying, yeah, you guys start writing like college students. So that they felt that it was reasonable. They also found some things that were struggles and things still to be dealt with. One of them, not surprisingly, students really do struggle with describing and communicating the higher levels of critical thinking, more than they do with understanding it. So they can actually understand something, and we all know this, right? I mean, if I ask you to explain, how do you know that 12 divided by 3 equals 4?
Because it is.
Yeah, that would be my answer as well. It's not that easy sometimes to explain. It's like, well, I just know that. I mean, I got that from my kids all the time when they were being told to do this. So yeah, so that one's hard. That requires a lot of support and work. That they needed more aligned materials, which is not a surprise, because of course, jumping into pilot right at the beginning, they didn't have much in the way of curriculum that was out there. They had to work on developing it. I thought it was interesting that, when the students are actually just practicing their work, it requires more teacher involvement and more chances for the students to talk about it. And I think that's because you're trying to develop the deeper ideas, the deeper understanding. They're not just solving little problems. Another thing I thought was great, that they recognize that their instructional model will continue to evolve, and probably in 3 years will look nothing like what it does now. So recognizing that this is a big change, big process. But one of the other things that I thought was interesting that they discovered was that, each teacher, in a sense, needs to, they called it unwrap the standards. They need to dive in. Each teacher needs to really get what it is that they're doing that's different in order to do it. And then finally, another non-surprise, given what it was talking about with academic vocabulary and stuff, EL students are going to need even more scaffolding, more support to get there. So as we came down towards the end of the conference, late on Friday, when I was pretty much brain dead, I attended a session that was called STEM plus Arts equals Success. And it was, it was great. It was a hands-on session. We used pattern blocks and paper cutouts and made tessellations and played with eighth-fold cuts to make our own, quilt blocks illustrating geometric things. And we were making it also as art, so we were supposed to, paste it on and label it. So I labeled mine on the awkwardness of being left-handed in a right-handed world, because I had a lot of trouble, as you can see, with my scissors. So I just thought I'd share that. But I still learned how that pattern works, how you get the eightfold pattern, even if mine didn't quite come out like I intended it to. But it was a great thing to do late on Friday afternoon when I was brain dead. Which goes to prove you can learn things even while having fun and doing art, which we all knew, right? So. Any questions? Somebody can figure out how to turn that off. Okay. Well, that brings us down to the bottom of our agenda. Do we have any additional comments from board members?
Just like to add how wonderful it is to work in our district. You could, I guess, 4 hours a day at $19 an hour, work out of class. That's a great gig. Hopefully one day it trickles down to our teachers. I can pay you guys that much, but we have a wonderful district.
Anybody else have anything further to say?
Good night. Thanks for coming out. Miss Dart and Miss Latata. Nice seeing you out there.
It's nice not to be completely alone here. Okay, and I have no speaker cards for any further comments from the public, so here at 9:35 p.m., this meeting is adjourned.